Today, I began the Breaking the Cycle hunger strike. Let me explain myself and why I'm doing this hunger strike. When I was 7 years old, I had two profound experiences. The first was in a church where one of the parishioners who had been to Africa, I believe on behalf of UNICEF, to an area struck by famine at the time, showed slides of starving children. My heart, my soul, indeed my whole being screamed inside me. And as I was about to breach into the outside world and scream in a church full of people, "No!" a gentle calm settled in me with the simple words, "It doesn't have to be this way." Simple words, but with a feeling, an emotion that changed my life. It set my life on a path. So I have spent my life developing a solution to starvation and war. Yes. Later that year in school, we were shown a black and white film of the horrors in Hiroshima after the bombs had been dropped. A film so visceral, it would never be shown to children that age in our modern age. Now, after 5.5 decades of effort, my solution is completed. With the help of the onset of AI, I was able to find a way to write it into a book. The book is called Cooperation, a Game Everyone Wins, and copies are readily available for free. In fact, I'll be giving you a website that you can download it from. Do not be fooled by the term game in the title. This is the only immediately implementable plan for human survival within the time frame left before we've destroyed our world, before we make it uninhabitable, and therefore only the rich will survive in their bunkers. It's the only plan I'm aware of on the table, ready to go, that solves the problems humanity has always faced, but definitely ones we are facing in our modern world. It deals with homelessness, deals with hunger, deals with starvation, it deals with environmental damage and how we can restore it. It deals with everything. And how does it do that? By redefining the one shared value that crosses all cultures, all governments, all systems of the world. Money. It's funny that, like many, I thought, oh, well, we all share one moral code. Therefore, when everyone accepts God's plan, or when everyone accepts this moral code, we can fix the world. But it is at a population of 8.2 billion people, we are not going to attain that goal. So something had to be done. And that's when I realized that we already have one shared value. It's money. The problem is, it's not based on human values, it's based on material values. So, the cooperation economic system redefines money and how it's generated. Currently, money is generated as debt for the most part. That means for every dollar created, $1.02, 3, 4, 5 cents is required in return. Now look at the totality of that math. You cannot create 100% and expect 105% back unless that 5% is coming from the future. And indeed, that is what drives our extractive, profit at all cost, constantly expanding economic system. Is the need to pay bankers to create money. Now, my solution does not penalize bankers. In fact, it's going to reward them with more profit than they can imagine. Likewise, it is not going to penalize industries that have been causing environmental damage. Instead, it will help them earn more profit by caring for the environment, by undoing the damage for the environment. And all of that can happen by switching to an asset-based money generation system rather than a debt-based one. This is not a new concept in a way. In fact, nothing I'm presenting is new or original in a certain reality. The idea of how we could redefine money, and the reason I chose game in the title, is to reach across the generations. In our modern video games, players do it all the time. They go back to their last save point when things were still good and then try again. And better yet, modern video games often have cheat codes so that they can create unlimited this, unlimited ammo, unlimited whatever it is for the particular game they're trying to win. The cooperation economic system does the same. It's a cheat code to create as much currency as we need to buy world peace, to end starvation, to solve all of our human problems. But despite the fact it's been analyzed by systems experts, all I've received is silence. I begged for criticism, for critiques, to be shown where it's lacking coherence, to show where its weaknesses are. And I met with silence. And we'll get back to the reason for that silence and what it means. The other thing I have accomplished 13 weeks ago, well, 13 and a half weeks ago now, is I posted an experiment on a scientific repository called zenodo.org. That's ZENODO.org. If you go there and then go to /records/180699994, you can find my posting that is entitled Not Perpetual Motion, simple pulley test reveals overlooked variable in gravity-based energy models. In other words, it very much calls to mind the question of whether or not gravity is conservative in all configurations. An assumption that has dominated physics for 350 years. I'm not challenging that gravity is conservative in most circumstances that have been studied, but I'm suggesting there are configurations where it doesn't have to. And indeed, one of the files on that page recommends a method of testing whether the anomaly of the experiment can be also replicated in a fluid dynamic system, which would serve as the concrete proof that we can produce surplus energy directly from the energy field, or from the gravitational energy field. Inside 12 weeks, it had over 900 downloads, which is, from what I understand, essentially unprecedented for common physics experiments. Now, statistically, that many downloads for a simple experiment almost guarantees that the experiment has been replicated many times. But yet, I hear silence. Now, this comes back to the same thing as the economic system. This is the cycle that needs to be broken. Challenges to physics usually are immediately, publicly ridiculed and humiliated. Yet after 12 weeks, now 13 weeks, silence. The same as resilience experts, system experts whose whole careers on LinkedIn are dismantling and showing how systems don't work, critiquing them and the problems. And they're all silent about this. Now, that does not prove that the systems are valid, but it does indicate that people are not finding flaws in either the cooperation economic system or in the concept that we may be able to have unconstrained energy directly from the gravitational field anywhere on Earth. So if that's true, if there's a new system that could solve the world's problems, why are the experts not backing it? If there's a science experiment that shows that it looks like we can extract energy from gravity, why are the scientists not all screaming about it? The short answer, reputational risk. Any paradigm shift, whether in science or in systems or society, is a tremendous career risk for the first people to endorse it. If later it should be proven that the system is invalid or that the science experiment doesn't work as it was seen, being an early adopter or supporter could destroy their careers and therefore their livelihood. And I'll be honest without calling out any names. One person who's actually ahead of an organization that deals with, particularly with resilience, wanted a video call with me. And in that call, told me that I've covered it all. Industries, governments, people, the emotions. It's all covered in the book. But anytime I've tried to get him to endorse it publicly, he doesn't. And this is the reason: reputational risk. So, when system experts whose branding on LinkedIn is all about tearing apart and critiquing systems read it and won't critique the system, but go silent, my assumption is that they can't find a flaw in the system, but they can't risk being early endorsers. So, this creates a catch-22 cycle. Because I'm not a famous person, because I'm not considered a systems expert, and because I'm not considered a scientist, even though really a philosophy degree is science, in our modern world it's considered arts. Even though it's the science that led to the scientific method. Everyday people will not look at it seriously because I'm a nobody. I'm not famous. I'm not a scientist. I'm not in theory, a systems expert. I'm a nobody. In fact, I currently live in an abandoned house and am unemployed, caused by systemic failures that many common people experience. So am I motivated to fix the world? Yes. Because I've had a good life despite all its hardships compared to many other parts of the world. We are one species. We are one planet. And it is time for us to start acting like it. The cooperation economic system allows that. And truthfully, upon realizing these two discoveries, I understood how they had to converge and come out at the same time. If unconstrained energy had been introduced in our current economic system, it would have been catastrophic. Catastrophic. And it would not have benefited most people because every effort would have been to capture it by the existing energy structure oligarchs so that they capture the profit. However, with both a redefinition of money that aligns with our human principles, that is based on one main principle: do for the world what you need the world to do for you. From that, three other rules emerge that allow for the creation of money by banks at people's behest, at companies' behest, at government's behest. Not as gatekeepers, not in debt, but as assets for which the banks will be paid a flat 1% for all currency they generate. This will bring banks more profit than they currently have, by far more profit. Because now, instead of a few small elite people that are wealthy being able to ask for loans, everyone is able to ask for currency generation. It will be generated at a rate it has never been generated before. And before detractors start to say, well, you can't do that, that'll cause massive inflation, read the book, understand the framework before you start making up your mind. Because in asset-based economics, you can generate as much capital as you want. Look at it like the game of Monopoly. It was possible, it was even in the rules, that you could write to Monopoly and pay to have more money sent. Because the game wasn't limited to, oh, well, you only get $50, $500 bills. It wasn't limited to the number of bills. You could order more currency. In an asset-based economy, that's possible. So, breaking the cycle hunger strike is really about breaking more than one cycle. It's breaking the cycle of everyday people or grassroots people needing to see professionals or famous people supporting it before they start to endorse it, before they welcome it themselves. It's breaking the cycle of reputational risk, or what's sometimes called institutional inertia, where institutions and professionals are afraid to move on something for fear that early adoption could be damaging to their career. That's the purpose of breaking the cycle hunger strike. This video and any future videos that platforms may take down, because, let's be honest, this video and ones that follow are challenging the status quo. And there are some who will not engage with it before they panic to protect the status quo. You can find these and a downloadable copy of the Cooperation Economic System, 2nd edition, at panacea.immersionexcursions.ca/downloads.php. Please help me break the cycle.